Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC. All right, let's do this thing. It is a good evening to you and how you be. William Haynes here, you there, here at 8:58, here on this Thursday night on the William Haynes Show, live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. The Rays lose to the Astros in Game 5 of the ALCS by a score of 4-3. It was a solo walk-off home run by Carlos Correa off of Nick Anderson to give Houston the win. The Rays now lead this series 3-2. It'll be Game 6 tomorrow. We know Blake Snell will be going for the Rays, likely Framber Valdez going for the Astros. He was warming up in the pen, would have been ready for extra innings, but most likely he will end up getting the start. Ton to unpack. I'm just going to come out and say this, a little intimate moment, I suppose, from myself to listeners of the program, just where I feel right now. Just a little bit about me. I do this show, I guess, mostly for fun. I do it a little bit to get experience as well. I'm currently a college student. I'm doing this. I want to be a sports broadcaster. That's kind of my career goal. So I do this to kind of get experience, host. This is kind of the William Haynes Show has kind of turned into kind of a Rays post-game thing. Before it was kind of an all-sports kind of discussion, and, we take callers and all that, and we'll take calls in just a couple minutes. But my main point in saying this is for me, training to become a sports broadcaster, obviously you have to be neutral. You have to separate yourself from the feeling and from the emotion, and that's why, I can be one to kind of cool off some hot takes, things like that. I don't like to over-exaggerate, get things out of context, all that. I like to keep things kind of in a realistic frame of mind. I don't get kind of carried away like the real fanatic meaning of a fan is often to do. So, the Game 5 against the Yankees, obviously pure joy. Being a Rays fan, I wasn't on the air that night, obviously, because I was celebrating and all that stuff. But I don't often get down too much. I try and stay even keel. I do this show within 10 minutes after the final out is made, so I have to kind of have a clear mind to discuss. When I saw Carlos Correa hit that home run off of our best reliever, Nick Anderson, I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. I feel sick to my stomach. I want to vomit. I feel horrible about this game. It's not something that can be explained by numbers or by statistics. Momentum is not something that can be measured. But I don't think that moment can quite be understated. let's take Carlos Correa, a guy that everyone hates. When the stuff came out with Houston about the cheating scandal and all that, he came out front. He was the poster boy of the Astros thing of, we're not going to apologize for this, screw off. We didn't do anything wrong, whatever. We're not taking responsibility. You guys hate us, so what? We'll show you up. And everyone hates him, and he comes out and says things. I think after they beat Oakland, he had something. And for him to hit that home run off of the Rays' best reliever, that is the reason why the Rays were 40-20 in the regular season, and the reason why we could have 12, 13 different players record a save in a season, and the reason why we can continue to do this crazy stuff that we do with the pitching staff. It's because of Nick Anderson. He is that man. When you need automatic outs at the top of the order, Nick Anderson is your guy. So all those things considered, watching Carlos Correa hit that home run off of Nick Anderson, and just the emotion in the Astros dugout, Dusty Baker going down 3-0, and him being even keel and trying to just navigate his team through this. Obviously, we know in the history of Major League Baseball, there's only been one team to come back from a 3-0 deficit in a best-of-7 series. That was the 2004 Boston Red Sox. They had lost in walk-off fashion in Game 7 the year prior to the New York Yankees, and they're down 3-0 in 2004, and they ended up coming all the way back. And the reason why that was so significant, the curse of the Bambino, I think it was, 80-plus years since the Red Sox, one of the most premier franchises in MLB, had won a championship. The curse of Bambino, meaning after they had traded Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees, and they had that long title drought. And I had sat here, I think it was after the Game 3 win, or maybe it was after the Game 4 loss, and I had said, look, I told you that there was only one team to come back down, 3-0 in a best-of-7 series, and I said the baseball gods were probably on Boston side during that series. Of course, they're fans. It's funny to say now that Boston fans were being tormented with all the titles they win these days, but back in that day. And then with Houston, it really couldn't be any more the opposite. It seemed like, at least in the first 3 games of the series, the baseball gods couldn't be further, I guess, on the other side of the Houston Astros. The Houston Astros cheated. They did, the sign-stealing scandal with the technology that, of course, should never be done. They even called it within their own organization the dark arts, basically. I mean, they knew what they were doing and that it was bad. And they won a World Series title and all that other stuff. I don't really need to go too further down that line. You guys know, you're intelligent baseball fans. You recall all that stuff. So there's especially from a sports media, I guess, standpoint. I know I'm going off on a weird little tangent here. There's a lot of narratives at play, and I still feel sick in my stomach. Blake Snell tomorrow. I seem like I'm probably the most Blake Snell hater that's a Rays fan. I mean, I watched his 2018 Cy Young season, and he was great, but he's really transformed into this guy that is just going to be a 5-inning pitcher, and sometimes you need more than that. And with the Astros going into the next game with all the momentum, they're probably going to hit another home run in the first inning and all that crap like they've done over the course of the series, and Blake Snell will have to gut through 5. And then you're going to have to hand it off to a bullpen and a lot of probably unfamiliar faces just because of the state of where the bullpen was at. I think it was good that they could get away only using the guys that they did. I thought it was big that Aaron Slegers was pitching an inning yesterday. I was a little bit perplexed at that move because I thought you probably wanted for 2 or 3 to follow Fleming today. And he ended up doing that, even going an inning yesterday. He ends up giving up no runs over 2 2/3. So Slegers was a big piece of this. Fleming got 3 innings, a 2-run ball, which I think all things considered, you take that. It's his first Major League postseason appearance. I don't even think the Rays, it was not in their plans to have him pitch with the Major League club in 2020. He didn't even play he played like a quarter of a season with AAA. I mean, this is an unfinished product. And to do what he did, and that was fine. Nick Anderson obviously is the story. We've got, probably 50 minutes from this point to, keep it within an hour program to talk about this loss. All that being said, kind of a weird off-the-cuff little opening monologue there. I'll go ahead and open up the lines now. I don't know how many people are tuned in. It seemed like it was hard to get it out on the socials because everything is so cluttered right now with pandemonium, and I think in the Tampa Bay area and everyone associated with this team. But If you're listening to this program now, you want to call in, you maybe want to share your thoughts with me about tonight's loss. You want to tell me what they should do tomorrow with the strategy, the pitching, what the lineup should look like. It looks like it'll be, I think Framber Valdez, I believe, is a left-hander. He is a lefty. So a lot of righties. Maybe you want Brasso instead of Loud. That's a whole conversation to have. So any thoughts that you have, the number to call, we have a line open currently. It is 877-566-1020. And with that being said, Game 5, again, Rays lose by a score of 4-3. Tampa Bay still leads the series 3-2, but there will be Game 6 tomorrow. The game will be at 6:07 on TBS. It'll be Blake Snell going for the Rays, and it looks like it has not been announced, at least to my knowledge, but Framber Valdez going for the Houston Astros. So a rematch of Game 1. That was a 2-1 win in favor of the Rays. Just to give you some context, Blake Snell went 5 innings of 1 run. Framber Valdez went 6 innings of 2 runs. So a bit of a pitcher's duel, southpaw on southpaw action there. So we'll get kind of a rerun probably of that. But tonight's loss, the Rays, 3 runs on 7 hits, 1 error. That was kind of a rare thing. That was on, I believe, one of the pitchers, I think Josh Fleming. And for the Astros, 4 runs on 6 hits, no errors on them. For the Tampa Bay Rays, the lineup that they fielded will start defensively in the outfield from left to right. It was Arozarena in left, Margot in center. Kiermaier didn't start, obviously we know because of the thumb injury. It was Austin Meadows starting in right that opened up the DH for Yandy Diaz. And in the infield, from third to first, it was Joey Wendell at third, Adames at shortstop. Brandon Lau was the second baseman. G-Man Choi played first. Mike Zunino was the catcher. And we know the starting pitcher, the opener, if you will, was John Curtis. The way the lineup was structured, Brandon Lau led off, followed by Arozarena and Meadows. Yandy Diaz cleaned up, followed by Choi and Margot. And a bottom 3 of Wendell, Adames, and Zunino. So off the cuff, I mean, when this lineup card was tweeted, I went on my Twitter account at WHBC Stream. Recommend you follow that. Gives you the link automatically when the show goes live. But everyone's really instant reaction was, whoa, Brandon Lau is leading off. We know it was, I think, probably a 1 or 2 for 35 stretch, something like that. It's been a big narrative throughout these playoffs, not only that Randy Arozarena has been carrying the team, but the reason he's had to is because guys like Austin Meadows and Brandon Lau have not been contributing. Meadows got a 2-hit night yesterday, so you think maybe he was going to get off the schneid. And for Brandon Lau, having him lead off to me was a curious decision and remains to be so. A guy that currently I think is going to be better suited at the bottom of the order. Unfortunately, as much as guys like Bill James and statisticians and sabermetrics people would like you to believe, there is a human factor in the game of baseball, and there's a lot of talk about a young guy. While confident in Brandon Lau, the last thing you want to do, I think, the day after having him on the bench, I believe, the day after benching him, putting him in the bottom of the order just sends the wrong message to the player. So Kevin Cash kind of turns back around and says, okay, we wanted the matchup yesterday with Mike Brasso against Greinke, but to show our confidence in you, we're going to have you lead off. And I was listening to the Rays pregame show on the radio on WDAE, and Dave and Andy on the call throughout the game. I'll probably cite them several times. But listening to Kevin Cash do their interview with Dave and Andy, the impression to me that I got, and Kevin Cash, I think, I didn't necessarily notice this as much. I think he's been here since, 2014, 2015, watching the team the last handful of seasons. I haven't really noticed it until 2020, but for a team that's so invested in stats and not as much the human element, they are all about showing confidence in guys, wanting to show support in their guys. We remember with John Curtis in Game 1 of the ALDS against the Yankees, and he gives up, I think, 5 runs or something like that in the 9th inning that broke open a Game 1 win for the Yankees, and they went back to Curtis later on in the series to get some big outs from him, and Curtis expressed how grateful he was for that opportunity. But I think the biggest story over the course of this postseason is Brandon Lau, and he has no business being at the top of the order. He has no business being an automatic everyday player. To me, he hasn't necessarily earn that. I understand the regular season, and he's cementing himself as one of the better second basemen in the American League. And yes, he does play pretty solid defense, and that's good. But he's giving you nothing. He strikes out in big spots. He works really bad at bats. He'll repeatedly swing and miss at the slider down and away. He just refuses to back off of that pitch. And to me, that's certainly not a guy you want at the top of your order, let alone to lead off the whole damn order. So to me, that was a curious move. But what I keep circling back to, Cash, his comments on the pregame show, the impression that I got, Kevin Cash he wants to win or lose with his guys being where he wants them to be. So I have to be careful the way I word this. Obviously, Kevin Cash wanted to win this game, but he didn't really want to win it without Brandon Lau being a big part of it. He said, "Okay, if I'm gonna win this game, Brandon Lau is gonna be the reason we win it." That's basically the best way to put that. And you have him lead off, you put that pressure on him, or I guess on the flip side of that card, you take a little bit of pressure off because you're the road team designated, so you bat in the top of the order. You just have Brandon Lau bat first just to get, you can't really think about it. You do your warm-ups, you're in the dugout doing whatever you do, and then you go out and hit, and then there you go. There's the game to get started off. And I talk about all the time on this show the importance of a leadoff hitter, not just to get on base, and that's a big part of it as well, although the Rays don't really get leadoff base runners these days. But the job of leadoff hitters is to see a lot of pitches, whether they get on base or not. And that's to make the starting pitcher uncomfortable, and it's to allow the hitters behind you to get a good look at what they're going to be seeing. So I don't know when pitch Brandon Lau flies out to left. I think it was a pretty deep charge or something. It was good, decent contact, and good to see him getting the ball in the air, but didn't see any pitches. And then we saw the residue of that. Arozarena flies out, although I think that one was pretty deep too. And then Austin Meadows strikes out. So not a good first inning, and Brandon Lau certainly didn't set the tone. And they went with an opener, so the starting pitching thing isn't necessarily a big deal. Luis Garcia got two pretty easy innings. He was certainly an interesting watch. He did walk two over the course of those two innings. And then for Brandon Lau, he comes up in the third inning to lead the inning off, and he leads it off with a home run against that would have been Blake Taylor. To me, when I saw that home run and listening to, I think it was Dave Wills that called it, he sheds the monkey off the back. Brandon Lau is returned. He's going to be the guy that, all that talk. And I'm sure on the socials and whatnot, all the Rays fans were kind of feeling the same way. And I certainly don't blame you for feeling that way. But my instant reaction when I saw the home run, obviously I'm happy because at that point, that tied the game at 1. So that was a big moment in and of itself. We wanted to get the win to advance to the World Series. But I immediately thought, oh crap, everyone's going to think Brandon Lau is back, and I knew that he wasn't, it can't be that easy, basically. He still wasn't working good at bats. That home run was on a 1-1 count, and I believe on a pitch that wasn't all that great. So I didn't necessarily feel that same way. I figured he was going to have some big at-bats later in the game, which he did, and I figured he was going to blow them, and he did just that. He went 0 for 3 the rest of the way. Flew out to center for out number 1 in the 5th. Struck out with a man on base for the final out in the 6th, and with a runner on first, struck out in the 9th. So really big at bats, and just blew it. He just doesn't work good at bats. He swings and misses, chases all kinds of crap that he shouldn't. Emotions it's easy to come out with him because it just is so frustrating in that Cash. And that's the frustrating part about it too, is he wants to win or lose with Brandon Lau being one of the biggest reasons why. It just, for whatever reason, Kevin Cash is so, and obviously you don't doubt really anything that Kevin Cash does. He's the best manager in Major League Baseball, and he knows what he's doing, and his decisions pay out. But it's just, to me, it's a bizarre thing, and that's what Cash thinks he needs to do for Lau to get out of it. And I don't know. I honestly think you can win a World Series without Brandon Lau being a big part of it. I don't think it's a big deal. You can platoon him at second base with Brasso. You can put Lau at the bottom of the order and do your thing. You've got Arozarena. You've got Choi. You've got Yanni Diaz. You've got Joey Wendell. You've got plenty of guys that were good at bats and that can bat at the top of the order. You don't necessarily need Brandon Lau, but Cash is going to go back to that and back to that and back to that, and just make sure that Brandon Lau is a big part of the game every single night. Looking to that at bat in the ninth, took a slider, looking kind of middle. There's an opportunity to get a hit. Then takes a pitch high for ball one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Fouls off a slider, kind of down and in, and then a curveball down and in as well. Swings and misses on a 1-2 count. So, of course, there's a lot of disappointment there with that. So that was Brandon Lau. Arozarena, he hit another home run, his daily home run. I think that was his 6th of the postseason, so that ties a Major League record for a rookie with home runs in a postseason with 6. I believe he ties Evan Longoria with that. Didn't get much else. Did have a lot of flyouts. He goes 1 for 5 with a couple of strikeouts, but the home run was a big part of it. The Rays' 3 runs all came on solo shots, but remember, this is a team that left the bases loaded in the second, and they left 2 men on in each of the 4th and 5th innings. So, and included leaving the go-ahead run at second base in the 9th inning. And then you look back to last night, they left the tying run in the 9th at third base. So, I guess, yeah, we've talked about it. The reason why, if this team doesn't advance, if this team loses in the postseason, it's because they can't bat with runners on base, they can't string hits together, and especially they can't bat with runners in scoring position. They're horrendous in that category. They go 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position tonight. They leave 9 men on base. There's your game. Enough said. The pitching, if you had told me that, we'll throw that 9th inning out. If Curtis, Fleming, and Sleggers can get you through 7 with 3 runs, you take that. We knew going into this game that the offense was going to have to come through, but I thought that was even better than I had expected. I thought that I thought Fleming might have gotten roughed up a little bit, and I suppose maybe he did. That 2 RBI, what was it? 2 RBI single for Michael Brantley, and that's fine. And then Slegger's doing what he did. I didn't expect the pitching to be this well, and it was. But the offense was as bad as it's been over the course of this postseason. They get guys on base, and, they walk a ton. They walked 5 times tonight. That's a lot of walks. They walked almost as much as they got hits. 7 hits, 5 walks. It's not a matter of not being able to get a man on first, but they can't move him over to second, and if they do, they can't bring him home. So I say this every night. That's the story. You want the takeaways. You want the story. There it is. This team can't hit. They can't hit with men in scoring position, and they can't string hits together. That's it. They've turned into this kind of Moneyball, Homer Ball type situation where I'm not necessarily sure if that's the analytics. We've seen the moves that they made in the offseason, bringing in guys like Hunter Renfroe and moves like that, going more for the home run. And they're over-reliant on it right now. And this wasn't necessarily the way in the regular season, although I guess it was at times. But I don't know. And if you're going to get a home run, maybe get it with some men on base instead of with the bases clear. And 3 solo. You get 3 home runs in a game, you should get more than 3 runs. That's plain and simple. But that's just the way the ball bounced tonight. And I don't know. It's hard to say much. This is a good place to take a break, I think. I'll put the link to the show out on the various socials and see if we can't get some callers in here. At 9:19, this is the William Haynes Show. Number to call during the break is 877-566-1020. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Hey, sports fans. William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
HBC. And at 9:21, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Number to call is 877-566-1020. With you for about another 30 minutes or so. What we have to discuss with the remainder of the program. Tell you more about tonight's loss. We've got the box score. We've got the scorecard. All of that. We'll talk about it. And then at the end, we'll preview Game 6. And I guess it wouldn't hurt to spend an extensive period of time to discuss that. It'll be Blake Snell going for the Rays. It looks like it'll be Framber Valdez going for the Houston Astros. Although I haven't found anything to confirm it. A couple of quotes from Mark Tompkin on Twitter. Nick Anderson, he says, "I don't think anybody's worried." Kevin Kiermaier said, quote, "We'll be okay." So that was kind of the mood, I guess, in the Zoom room tonight. Cash said he's very confident we'll be ready to go. So there you go. I don't know. It was just a very weird vibe. Still with the sick in the stomach, as I imagine all of you are as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. The last thing you want to do is get into a Game 7 with this Astros team that would be red hot if this does get to 7 games, because that would have meant that they win 3 straight. I was looking, the TBS telecast, they put up a stat. Teams in a CS, I believe, American or National League Championship Series, that go down 3-0 that make it to a Game 6, I think, are 1-2. Obviously, the Red Sox beat the Yankees, and then I think the Braves and the Mets each lost 1. Obviously, winning 3 or 4 straight games in the playoffs is a tough thing to do, and I guess the odds would not be in the Astros' favor, but, you win 2 straight, you do it in the walk-off fashion here tonight. Definitely cause for concern, I would say. So we'll all be watching intently. The game will be on at 6:07 on TBS, so about an hour later than it was here tonight. So that'll be very interesting. Going back to where we were, and again, the number to call is 877-566-1020. I'm sorry, I'm kind of for a loss of words, just still trying to kind of process all this. We talked about Lau Rosarena. Batting third, it was Austin Meadows, 0 for 4, with a walk and a strikeout. So again, combining kind of Lau and Meadows, 2 guys, as Dave Wills always said, your best players have to be your best players. Well, Brandon Lau and Austin Meadows combined to go 1 for 9. With the solo home run and the 3 strikeouts. There you go. It's just they're not giving you much of anything. Yandy Diaz cleaned up and DH'd, and I like that move when we saw the lineup card, because to me, Yandy Diaz is a guy, he's kind of got his own little 3 true outcomes thing going on. He either walks, he strikes out, or he grounds out to shortstop. That's what he does every time he pulls the ball on the ground. Can't get it in the air. And that was why Cleveland gave him up easily to the Rays. They took Jake Bauers in return, and I don't even think he was in the majors for them for more than a year. I think he's already been to AAA and whatnot. So he was a guy that hit the ball hard, but it was always on the ground, and low batting average and all that. In 2019, they were able to kind of have Diaz to hit more line drives to get the ball in the air with the home runs. We all remember, I think, his Rays career, I think, will always be remembered by that wild card game where he hit, was it the 2 home runs? I think he hit 2 home runs, including leading the game off with the home run in the first postseason game for the Rays, and at that point would have been 6 years. So that was a big moment. And then going into 2020, we thought he would be a big part of this club. Missed some time last year with injury, so you think if we can get him healthy for a 2020 season, he'd be good, and he did end up missing some time with injury again. Just didn't seem like his same self. There's been talk all year that he just hasn't been seeing the ball well, which I don't understand. I mean, that's a thing that happens? Hitters just go an entire season just not seeing the ball well? I mean, these are guys that get paid millions to do this for a living, and he can't get it figured out. Okay. But he does walk. The thing is, he does see the baseball well because he has a good eye. He just can't put the barrel to it. So, and he's become hesitant at the plate, I think. Goes 0 for 4 with a strikeout, and the cleanup spot is not what you want. Was the first out in the second inning. was the third out in the third inning with no man on base. He struck out with a man on in the fifth and grounded out to end at 1-2-3-7. So there was no real spots for him to be the quote unquote cleanup guy, even though he batted fourth. So that I guess is a good thing. But I liked I liked Diaz to clean up and then have Choi behind him at fifth, because I thought, Diaz was probably going to walk a couple times this game. He ended up not walking at all. But then theoretically you get Choi up behind him and maybe he can walk or he can get a base hit. And then all of a sudden you've got some base runners for, Margot, Wendell, Adames perhaps. And that didn't necessarily end up being the case. Choi had a really good game. Well, he was the team MVP and I think certainly would have gotten a lot more attention had the Rays won. He goes 2 for 2 with 2 walks. So reaches base all 4 times he comes to the plate. That's huge. He walked in the second inning. That was part of a bases loaded situation that the Rays came away empty-handed with. He walked in the fourth to lead off the inning, and they would walk again. They left 2 base runners there. Singled with a man on in the fifth to make it first and second with 2 outs, and Manny Margot grounded out to leave them stranded. And then his final at-bat in the 8th inning was a solo home run that tied the game at 3, and it was huge. The big enthusiastic call from Dave Wills, and it was a very exciting moment, I think, for Choi to finally kind of burst through in the postseason in that way, I think was big. And they waste that performance. That's to me, Choi, I've been kind of clamoring to get him in the leadoff spot. They had Marco yesterday. They go with Lau here today. I don't know. Why don't you get a guy in the leadoff spot that actually works good at bats? I know that's a weird thing. I know I'm ostracized for saying that. Why would you want a good hitter in the number 1 spot in the lineup? It just doesn't make any sense. But if Cash decides he does want a good hitter in the leadoff spot, well, I think Choi would be a good candidate. He's done it before. I wouldn't be surprised also if he hits cleanup, although the matchups may not even be there for him tomorrow with the lefty on lefty of the starter Framber Valdez, at least who we assume will start. He was a starter in game 1. He warmed up in the pen tonight, would have come in extra innings. ESPN, I think, is being a little slow because they don't even have Blake Snell as the starter yet, so I'll continue to refresh that as the show goes on. But could have been a situation where Choi's out of the game completely if they decide to go with I wouldn't be surprised if they went with Yandy at first and Brasso at third, to be quite honest with you. Double up, really commit to the righty on lefty, and then if they go to the right-handed bullpen, guys like Paradis, who might not be able to come in, scrub, Josh James, who pretty much blew it, Ryan Presley. Then you can go to your lefties, have them come off the bench, and they can slot them in the field, meaning Joey Wendell and G-Man Choi. And maybe even Yoshi Satsugo in a spot. So I would expect them maybe to plug up the righty. So perhaps G-Man Choi doesn't even get in the starting lineup tomorrow. But if he does, I don't give a crap about righty on lefty at that point in the leadoff spot. G-Man Choi works good at bats against righties and lefties. It's not that complicated. Choi is just a professional hitter. So I would like to see him lead off. A bit of attention, I guess. I think frustration is high for all of us. But moving on, Margot, he batted 6th. He goes 1 for 4 with a strikeout. I was not impressed with him. He singled in the 8th inning after the home run to get something started, and then Wendell grounded into the double play, so that extinguished that. So his other at-bats flew out with a man on, struck out with a man on, and grounded out with a couple men on. So not only did he record outs, but he recorded outs in pretty big spots. So I don't like to see that. Obviously, we'll all probably remember the Manny Margot game, and what was that? I think that was game 2. Yeah, it was game 2 where he hit the 3-run homer and then made the spectacular play in the outfield the very next inning. But outside of that, hasn't been producing much. He hit more home runs in the postseason than he did in all the regular season, and that's kind of a fun story. And the media really took off with the heartwarming story, which it is, no doubt, with him losing his dad and Willie Adames being a big part of Margot being able to kind of move forward with his life. But to me, at this point, Margot is more of a story than anything else. He's just not doing a whole lot, but did play good in center field, so you get that much out of him. Joey Wendell, he batted, seventh and played third base. He goes 0 for 2 with a walk. Looking at his at-bats, he got hit by a pitch. That was part of a bases loaded inning that they come away empty-handed. He walks with a man already on, so that was good. And then he grounds out in the sixth for the first out, and then grounds into a double play in the eighth. So ultimately, I don't know. They don't get a lot out of him. I think did play a good third base. Willie Adames next batted eighth and played shortstop. He goes 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts and a walk. So after the kind of heroics from him in last night's game where he almost tied it up with the home run, instead it was a double off the wall. And so that was certainly disappointing for him. You thought maybe he would be able to parlay that into a good game today. I liked him batting eighth. I thought, that's just a good situation for him. And looks like he did walk in the first inning, or in his first at bat. In the second, that was the walk that actually did load the bases, and then Mike Senino flew out to right. And I think that was almost a grand slam. So that could have been a story as well. This game was just right, so close. The one even closer than really the one run would tell you. Struck out with a couple men on for the second out in the fourth, so that's disappointing. He struck out with the bases empty in the sixth, and he struck out for the third and final inning with the bases clear in the eighth. So didn't give you a whole lot. Mike Senino, wow, you actually get a 2-hit game out of him. He goes 2 for 4 with a strikeout. Looking at him, he almost got the grand slam again in the second, but flew out basically to end that bases loaded situation in the second. Struck out with a couple of men on in the fourth. So at that point, he was 0 for 2 and really had kind of been screwing the team. And then at that point, he comes back around, singles with the bases empty in the sixth, and then singles to lead off the ninth. And then they pinch run Kiermaier for him, and he gets to second base on a wild pitch. And then you think maybe they can walk away with something, but instead, no. So that was your lineup. Looking at the pitching staff, it was John Curtis. He was the opener. He faced 5 batters, did his thing, gave up the solo home run to George Springer actually on the first pitch. That's what Springer likes to do, and he got away with that. Seemed like after that, just got outs. There you go. Open the door for Fleming to have a nice outing. He goes 3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs. I say that, a nice outing. I'm trying to find. It was that third inning. He faced the 8-9 hitters, put them both on at second and third, and then after that, there was some trouble. Michael Brantley drove them both in, and then got into a little more trouble after that as well. So, not great, I guess. But the 3 innings, that's what I expected. It was did give them innings. They didn't have to go to guys like Fairbanks or Castillo. So that I thought was pretty significant. And then Sluggers got 2 2/3 scoreless. That was pretty big as well. Anderson gets an inning and a third. And obviously we know with him, he comes on to pitch. Let's see. He gets all 3 outs in the 8th, so they ask him basically to get 6 outs, and gets the first out of the 9th, and then we know the solo home run to Carlos Correa to end the game. So that was it for that. Nothing else to say. Again, just for the hitters, again, I'll remind you, they go 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Zunino 0 for 2, Meadows 0 for 1, and then Margot, Adames, and Arozarena all 0 for 1 as well. Inning by inning, and then what we'll do is we'll preview tomorrow's contest. Again, number to call is 877-566-1020. We're in the final 20 minutes of the program. Top of the first against Luis Garcia. I think it was the first 5 pitchers were rookies in this game for Houston. He gets Lau to fly out to left. Arozarena lines out, and Meadows strikes out. So it was not a great first inning work. Looking at Meadows is at bat. That was not great. Swung and missed at a curveball down and away. Fouled off a fastball. Took a changeup for a ball, and then swung and missed at a curveball kind of down and away to him. So Disappointing start, certainly, for him. Bottom of the first, Curtis on for the Rays. George Springer, first pitch he sees, a fastball kind of middle, as you would expect. George Springer, he's done this in his career, 406 feet to left. 1-0 Houston. Gets Brantley to strike out, walks Altuve in a lengthy at-bat, gets Bregman to fly out on the first pitch, and I think he had put a decent charge on that one. And then, before throwing a single pitch to Carlos Correa, he picks off Altuve at first. And I think in a 60-game season, this was the first pickoff attempt that I recall watching. So that was fun to see. And for Altuve, he made 3 outs on the base path today. So instead of making errors in the field defensively, he was just getting out on the base path. So that was kind of a fun little thing. Top of the second, Garcia still on for Houston. Diaz grounds out, but then G-Man Choi works a walk. Good for him. He was taking fastballs, changeups. That's really all Garcia had. Then Margot flies out. Wendell gets hit by a pitch, so it's first and second with 2 outs. Wendell an 0-2 count and just got hit in the foot, so that was a good break for the Rays. Then Adames walks easily. Just took a lot of pitches away. Discipline at the plate. Bases loaded, 2 outs for Big C. Mike Stanino, what's he going to do on an 0-2 count? He had seen all fastballs middle away in the at-bat. Takes one looking, fouls the other one off, and then flies out to right. Was almost a grand slam. Took the right fielder, Josh Reddick, all the way out to the track and all the way to basically the base of the wall, and just couldn't come away with anything there. Bottom of the second, Curtis is on to get the first out, gets Carlos Correa swinging, and then they go to the lefty Josh Fleming to get the lefty Tucker, which he does to strike out swinging, then gets Yuli Gurriel to end the second. After 2, it was 1-0 Houston. Top of the third, Astros make a pitching change. It was Blake Taylor on the lefty to get Lau and Meadows. Instead, to Brandon Lau on a 1-1 pitch. He goes 424 feet to center, so a long blast. It was a fastball middle, so he's been swinging through those pitches, so I guess good progress that he's now, making good contact with it. I suppose we'll take that. So that tied the game at 1. Then a Rosarena struck out swinging. Meadows grounds out to first, and then they make another pitching change. Paredes comes on and gets Yandy Diaz to ground out to second, as he always does, the pull grounder. Fastball middle. Bottom of the third, Josh Fleming remains on for Tampa Bay. Josh Reddick leadoff single. Then Maldonado double. So you get the 8-9 runners on, and then that's trouble with nobody out. George Springer grounds out to the pitcher and keeps the runners from advancing. So there you go. Second and third with 1 out. And then Michael Brantley on a 2-1 count. A 2 RBI single to make it 3-1 Houston. It was on a 2-1 count. It was a sinker middle, so there you go. Altuve walks first and second, and then he got Bregman to ground into a double play, so that was nice to see. After 3 innings, it was 3-1 Houston. Top of the fourth, Paredes remains on for the Stros. G-Man Choi works a leadoff walk, so you always like to see that. Took a lot of pitches, most of them in, and by quite a bit. Manny Margot strikes out swinging. It's a non-competitive at-bat. Takes a slider middle. Swings and misses at a basically swings through a fastball in the middle of the plate. Fouls off another one. And then a slider down and in. Swings and misses. So there you go. Margot, disappointing at-bats for him. Joey Wendell walks to put runners at first and second with 1 out. Adames strikes out swinging. And Zunino strikes out swinging. Zunino got all fastballs and just swung through them. So that was disappointing. A lot of disappointment, really. Just their opportunities were there, just didn't come through. Bottom of the fourth, Fleming gets 1-2-3. Correa, Tucker, and Gurriel all retired. Top of the fifth, Paredes remains on. Lau flies out to center. It looked like he just missed on a slider middle. And then a Rosarena, his daily home run. Fastball kind of middle down. 406 feet to right center makes it 3-2 Houston. So cuts the lead in half. Then Austin Meadows walks, and they take out Paredes and put in Andre Scrub. Diaz strikes out. Choi singles, first and second, 2 outs. And then Manny Margot, what does he do? He grounds out to third base on a curveball that he basically chased with 2 strikes. So at least I suppose he made contact with it. Bottom of the 5th, Josh Fleming still on. He gets Josh Reddick to fly out, so he gets the lefty. They take him out, put in Aaron Sleggers, and Sleggers retires Maldonado and Springer. At the end of 5, it was 3-2 Houston. Top of the 6th, still against Andre Scrub. The right-hander, Joey Wendell, grounds out. Adames strikes out. Strikes out looking, in fact. I think he was frustrated with that. And then Zunino singles to put a man on, so they put in the lefty Brooks Raley to get Brandon Lau, who strikes out swinging. And a pretty non-competitive at-bat. About as non-competitive as they get. First pitch to him, slider down and in, swing and a miss. On an 0-1 count, slider down and in, swing and a miss. 0-2. On an 0-2 count, slider down and in, takes it. 1-2, slider down and in, swing and a miss. That is the Brandon Lau experience here in the 2020 postseason. Just refuses to lay out the slider, won't take it unless it's so drastically in the dirt. And then on the next pitch, when he should know that it's coming, chases it again. So there you go, another, I guess, tough break for the Rays there. Zunino at first base, so not a big deal. Bottom of the 6th, Sleggers comes on. Brantley grounds out. Then Altuve singles but gets thrown out, trying to stretch it to 2. So that was nice. And then Bregman flies out. So 3 up, basically, and 3 down there in the 6th for Sleggers. Top of the 7th, Rayleigh on, gets Arozarena and Meadows. Then Josh James comes in to get Yandy Diaz, who really didn't provide anything. So 1-2-3 inning. Bottom of the 7th, Sleggers remains on. Gets into a little bit of trouble. Carlos Correa lines out for out number 1. Then Tucker is safe on a throwing error for Sleggers. And then gets all the way to second on said error. So he should have just eaten the play, but instead he tries to get aggressive. He wouldn't have made the out with a perfect throw anyway, but still tried to get it. So he gets all the way to second. Then Gurriel grounds out. They intentionally walk the lefty Josh Reddick to get the righty Martin Maldonado, who they get to strike out. So first and second, 2 outs, and they get the out they're looking for. At the end of 7, it was 3-2 Astros, so the Rays down to their final 6 outs to put 1 run on the board. Josh James on for Houston. Ji-Man Choi leads off the inning. Starts off 2-1. Gets a fastball kind of down and away. 447 feet to right. A home run for Ji-Man Choi, a solo shot there to the day for the Rays. That ties the game at 3. Then Manuel Margot comes through. He singles to center on a 2-2 count, a fastball middle. Zips it by, I think it was Correa. So there's another base runner, but Joey Wendell grounds into a double play, and Adames strikes out swinging. They bring in Presley because Josh James, I think, pulled a hammy or something like that, so he may not be available for tomorrow's game. Bottom of the 8th, Nick Anderson comes in, I suppose, to get the final 6 outs of the game. I didn't understand this move. I don't want to try and even contemplate or try and explain it. I don't get it. He gets Springer to pop out, Brantley to ground out, and Altuve to line out. So he gets the 1-2-3 hitters. I understand that. You want to get the matchup, keep the game scoreless. All right. Top of the 9th, Ryan Presley on. Big Z, Mike Zunino, leadoff single on an 0-1 count. A fastball, middle. So there you go. Then Kevin Kiermaier pinch runs for him. The thumb looks like it's still kind of bothering him a little bit, but he's good enough to pinch run, and he played defense. I guess all he could do was watch that home run go from Correa. So Kiermaier pinch runs for Big Z. Then Brandon Lau strikes out swinging. Let's take a look. It was a slider down and in that he takes looking for a strike. Then a fastball takes it too high for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. A slider kind of down and away. Fouls it off. And then on a curveball in the dirt. Swing and a miss. And then I think during the Arozarena at-bat, Kiermaier gets to second on a wild pitch. Arozarena ultimately ended up flying out to right. It was a slider middle and just didn't get the right angle on it. And then Austin Meadows on a 1-1 count also flies out to center on a slider kind of middle. So a bit disappointing certainly there. Although it looks like the Arozarena one was a pretty deep fly out. So could have had something there, but just didn't quite walk away with it. Bottom of the 9th for Houston, Michael Perez comes in to catch because they pinch run for Zunino. Margot comes into play, or he moves from center to play right, and Kevin Kiermaier comes into the game to play center field. Nick Anderson remains on, gets Bregman to pop out to second. Carlos Correa comes up, 1-1 count. I'd given him 2 curveballs, one too high for a ball, one swing and a miss down the middle. Then goes to the fastball up and away, but can't get it out there enough. And 416 feet to center. Astros walk it off, win 4-6. And the Rays, of course, will play them tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Before we preview the game, I'm just going to make sure that the starters have not been announced. I know Blake Snell has been announced for the Rays. Yeah, ESPN is just kind of screwing me. That's fine. So final thoughts, final takeaways. I think for this game, just a lot of disappointment. Offense couldn't come through. They left the bases loaded, then left 2 men on in a couple more innings. So just kind of leave. I mean, there you go. Just runners on base, can't strand hits together. Pitching was good, except I guess for Nick Anderson there in the 9th inning. That was a little bit disappointing. So there you go. With that, I don't really have any other thoughts. Previewing tomorrow's contest, it looks like by all indication it will be Blake Snell going up against Framber Valdez. We look at here, it will be Blake Snell. We'll take a look at him first. In Game 1 against Houston, 5 innings pitched and earned run on 6 hits. And then for Houston, Framber Valdez, 6 innings pitched, 2 runs on 4 hits. So it looks like I would expect more of the same for Blake Snell. Expect kind of another 5-inning start. He can't get through a 6th inning. Just throws too many non-competitive pitches. Refuses to try and challenge the zone with his off-speed stuff. Just wants to throw it in the dirt. Houston is good. They don't strike out. They make contact well. They're not going to fall into that crap. So don't expect Snell probably to get more than 5 innings. From the bullpen, guys that would be available, that's tough. I mean, looking at Fleming, of course, would be out. Slegger's out. Nick Anderson, I would imagine, would be out, but we may see him if the Rays are in the lead. Alvarado pitched yesterday, so he would be in play. I know he warmed up in the pen tonight. And so, really, everyone's in play because Fairbanks is on 2 days rest. Ryan Thompson is on 2 days rest. Castillo is on 2 days rest. Aaron Loop. So pretty much everyone is available. So let's say Blake Snell gets through 5. You can get one from Alvarado that gets you through 6. One from Fairbanks that gets you through 7. One from Castillo that gets you through 8. And one from Nick Anderson that would get you through 9. And then if that's not good enough, you've got Ryan Thompson who can get outs. Shane McClanahan warmed up today. Aaron Loop could get you outs. I don't suspect John Curtis would appear, but I guess he could if need be. That's really it. Starting lineup against Framber Valdez, the way they did it in Game 1, and I guess that's the best thing to look at. Brasso led off, started at third base. Rosarena batted second and played, let's give you the lineup first. Brasso, Rosarena, Lau, Diaz, Renfroe, Adames, Margot, Kiermaier, Zunino. The defense, it was in the outfield from left to right, Margot in left, Kiermaier in center. Who's in right field? Hunter Renfroe in right, and then the infield from third to first. Brasso at third, Adames at shortstop, Lau at second, Yanni Diaz at first. Mike Zunino was the catcher. Similar lineup, probably. I had mentioned that Choi would probably be out of the mix just to get those extra kind of righty on lefty matchups there. So probably expect some of that. Brasso, yeah, I would expect the same. I mean, Brasso to play third, Yanni Diaz to play first base, and then got Wendell on the bench. Outfield would be a bit tricky. I don't know if Kiermaier is going to be ready to go. I think, they may be fine with Margot in center, honestly, to get the righty and lefty. So let's say they keep Kiermaier on the bench. That would leave them with the outfield. They would go probably a Rosarena in left, Margot in center, and then probably Hunter Renfroe again in right if they want to go extreme righties, which they can do. And then I think at that point, they would only have I think maybe one lefty in the lineup. That would be Brandon Lau, I think. So, I believe so. Let's take a look. Yeah, I mean, if they want, they may not want to go 8 righties and 1 lefty. They could mix it up, 7 and 2, 6 and 3, whatever the case. It's hard to get a read. Everyone's going to play this close to the vest. I have no idea. It looks like Houston's bullpen is pretty stressed. Josh James may not be healthy, so who knows if he even appears in the game. They used a lot of people. I don't know if Paradis would be available. He's pitched I don't know. Hard to say. Really hard to say. It might be all hands on deck. It's another elimination game for Houston, so that's it. There's your game. It starts at 6:07 against Snell against Valdez. Other action in MLB. It looks like Acuna is hurt. He got hit by a pitch by Kershaw. In the bottom of the 6th, well, let's take a look at this replay. It was him running to first base, and he falls. So I don't know what the deal was with him. But in the bottom of the 6th, Dodgers and Braves are tied at 1. I know Braves are up 2-1 in the series, so the Braves could come through with a commanding lead, or the Dodgers tied up. I was hoping that the Rays were going to be able to dispose of the Astros quickly, but it looks like the series is going to somewhat go the distance. Some off days would have really helped, but looks like, I don't know, this Braves-Dodgers series will probably end up going deep as well. So, interesting game tomorrow. Starts at 6. We'll probably be on the air at about 9 o'clock or so. So it'll be interesting, involved. Enjoy the game as much as you can. I think it's going to be a stressful affair more than anything else. I think Blake Snell is going to cause a lot of frustration probably. Maybe he finally comes through and gives them a good start, but don't expect it. Probably some more home runs for Houston. Hopefully some home runs for the Rays. Heavy right-handers. We'd love to see Brasso back in the lineup. Maybe at third, Yanni Diaz at first. Maybe Choi coming off the bench in a crucial pinch hit situation. Entire bullpen really is in play. Fairbanks, Castillo, Anderson, maybe Jose Alvarado gets some big outs. They've got guys. We'll see if they can do it. Punch their ticket to the World Series. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.
New